I'm vengeance.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 130 of the Super Civil Servants Podcast. My name is Greg, the Bat Daddy 52. And folks, after going to an anime con last weekend and watching a cosplay contest, I can say if you are willing to give up your sight for the sake of cosplay, more power to you. Like, you got my vote. That's commitment, and I like your work ethic. So saw that a little bit of that this weekend on a few different costumes. It was pretty cool. But Sarah, what's up?
Oh my gosh, it's been another fun week. I'm so glad it's over.
Yeah, of all the things, it's been an interesting week for me too. Of all the things that I did get from the con this weekend, the flu was one of them. So I've been down for the last week. Just
Oh
headaches,
man, that
congestion. It's been
sucks.
terrible. It sucks. Finally starting to get over it. Just still everything congested up in this area, but I can push through it. So yeah, that was one thing that I did take with me. It was free too. It was crazy. The only thing free that was there. Nuts.
Well, hopefully you're on the mend. So
Yeah, definitely doing better. So I got a couple more days off, so I'll be all right. But
oh, there you go. A nice chesty
I was
cough.
trying to hold it back, but so we got to go to a con last weekend. We live close enough to each other that when things like that are around, it's cool. We can hang out and see things like that. And I know I'd mentioned it to you and Ross last week that was part of the reason why I took Friday off, because I was taking my daughter to her first con altogether, my first anime con, and we had a really, really good time. It was a better time than I expected. It was small for what it was, but it had a really big turnout, I feel. And there were a lot of people there that were really dedicated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because, as far as like any of the animes, I mean, I told my kids about it, they were like, yeah, there was even some anime stuff that they weren't familiar with. I mean, they're more like the My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of those, which I say also kudos to the cosplayers, because that was some really awesome stuff. There was some really fantastic cosplays there. And it's like I would ask, because I had my daughter was sitting beside me, and I'm like, do you know who that is? She's like, oh yeah, especially if they were My Hero Academia characters.
Right.
I'm like, well, you're doing better than I am, because I think Jinx is probably not the only one I recognized.
There were a lot of Jinxes there.
Yeah, and there were some really good ones too.
There were, yeah. And of course, with the really good ones, you get the ones that really, but it's more about the heart they're into it. You can tell the ones who really put the stuff together at home, and the ones who probably put a little more money into it. But that's the way it goes with everyone, I'm sure. I thought it was a fun experience. It was cool that the character that my daughter was actually cosplaying, the voice actor from that plays her was there. We were supposed to go meet her on Sunday, but when we got there Sunday, they had just wrapped everything up like 10 minutes before
we got
there. So we didn't get a chance to meet her. She was upset about that, but she had a great time. She was in the cosplay contest.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job. I was proud of her.
Yeah, I was proud of her too. What was funny is I know when they got up there and they were going through their whole thing, I didn't realize what they were doing, but it looked like because I know I went through the practices with them, and they were supposed to strike a pose, walk, strike a pose, walk, and then strike a pose. 3 poses, and that was it. And when they got on, like, she did it with her cousin, and it looked like they were arguing about what they were going to do the whole time. And I was like, just strike a pose, not realizing, with me not being as into anime, like, I knew enough to feel like I wasn't an outsider, but definitely not an expert. I didn't realize that that's what they were doing, was acting out what those 2 characters do. When I got done, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
See, that's why you just let your little girl. She knew what she was doing.
She
you
knew exactly.
Just let her be. She's got it. She's got it.
And they won with the Rising Star Award, which is pretty cool. So, I tell you, seeing that cosplay competition, I think the coolest part about it, man, was seeing how absolutely fantastic happy it made some people, man. Like, especially like the ones who from the Five Nights at Freddy who won the overall event, man. You could tell they put their heart and soul into this, and they weren't expecting to win.
Well, they were when we got there. They were actually rehearsing, because they were rehearsing like upstairs, because it took us for a minute to realize you had to go downstairs to where everything was. So we actually got to see them kind of do a little rehearsing or whatnot. So that was really cool. So And they had some really cool costumes too. That's why,
Okay.
because my son was big for the Five Nights at Freddy's. I said, "What do you think about that?" And he's like, "That's pretty cool."
Yeah. Yeah. Some were really, really good. Like I said, there were two that were in that competition that you couldn't see. You had to have somebody
Mhm.
walk you up there
I know.
and kind of walk you across the stage and walk you off. That was commitment, you know?
Well, I think my son was more impressed with I guess with the sword, the guy with the sword.
Yeah, the guy at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, that had like the scarf or whatnot that was attached to
Yeah.
it, so you could actually see the movement. Yeah, we
It's
haven't got
crazy
that
how,
yet, but
yeah, it was crazy just how adding a scarf to the end of a sword makes it look so much more cool when you're doing
well, it
something
gives you
like
all
that.
that movement. You're seeing where
Hmm.
everything's going, so
Yeah.
it's. But
Yeah, that was
yeah,
really, really
it
fun.
was really fun. I know. I asked Claire. I was like, "You want to do something like that?" She's like, I could tell in the back of her mind. She's like, "I'm already thinking about what I want to do,"
Hmm.
but I just don't know if I just don't know if she would actually. I think eventually she might do that, but it was great. It was awesome. I was really my kids were stoked. They were super stoked.
One of the coolest things I think they had there was when I went there Friday night. They have an open game room, and in this
Hmm.
open game room, they just have tons of computers and games set up and all different kinds of stuff, and Smash Brothers and Mario Kart and all kinds of video games. And I actually entered a Mario Kart competition because they were worried about like who wants to be in the competition, and I was like, yeah, I haven't played it since it's on 64, but I'll try it because they're playing it on the Wii U. So this look, I always tell everybody I made it the second round. None of my other friends made it past the first round, but I made it the second round. Now, they were kind of skeptical about the way I did it, but I just say I didn't make the schedule, and you got to play who's in front of you. Okay,
Hmm.
you play who's on your schedule. Now, just because me and my daughter signed up at the same time, and they happened to pair me up with them in the first round, I can't control that. Now, second round, I got smashed. I mean, it wasn't even funny. It was
You
like
got
one of those things where
obliterated.
like, yeah, by the time the like second or third game like race was on, because it was best of four races. By the time second or third race was on, these guys were just kind of like inching away from me, like, who is this guy? Like, what is he doing here? I was way out of place. I was trying to have a good time with it, but yeah, I beat my daughters, but nothing after that with Mario Kart. Now,
Well, yeah,
Smash
my
Brothers, that was a
boys.
different story.
Yeah, my boys found that room. Matter of fact, that's where they were when you had gotten there on Saturday.
Mm.
So they, yeah, I guess it was probably like full or whatnot, but still they were like, okay, well this is kind of cool. Yeah, and I tell you, with it and the floor where they had all the merchandise and stuff, I need to stay away. I need to stay away. I
Yeah.
need to stay away.
There was a whole lot of stuff. I told the third day was when we went back in that merchandising area to buy stuff. I told my daughters like, all right, you have this amount of money to spend. That's it.
Hmm.
Like we're setting the money limit out here. So of course, can I get this? No. Can I get this? No. My daughter ended up deciding on the Death Note book, which is funny because it was $15 there, but it's $6 on Google, the exact same
Oh
book.
yeah,
And I was trying to tell her that, but I guess a little different getting it from the con. So I understood. It's no big deal. It was within the limit I told her she could get. So, but yeah, I tried to limit my amount of spending that time because really, other than that, we really didn't spend any money there other
yeah.
than the admission. So that was pretty fun. And I
Well,
will say that after dark, not after dark,
it probably gets
after
real.
hours, after about 9 o'clock, those cons start to get way more adult. Not just with the people that are there, but with the panels and stuff going on, like
Yeah.
2022 Anime Award or Hentai Awards and history of pornography in art and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, like it definitely gets more adult as these things go on because there were people that were sticking around when we are leaving as kids. Like, no, I'm sticking around for this later. Like it gets a lot more fun about 10 o'clock. So
Well, there was I think there was a One Piece panel. I think at like 8 o'clock. And Gage was interested in that. But by that time, by after the cosplay, he was like, "I'm done." He's like, "I'm ready to go." I'm
yeah,
like, "Okay, that's cool. I'm good with that."
yeah. Yeah, that was a lot to sit through. I mean, but because there were a lot more acts than I thought there was going to be, but it was a fun time. But yeah, all in all, man, AnimeCon was fun. I'll probably go back to that one next year. It wasn't overpriced. It was $45 for a 3-day pass for me,
Hmm.
and they let one of my daughters in for free with cosplay, so I only paid for two of us. I'll
Yeah,
definitely go back.
we just paid for the two adults because my kids are still young enough to where I think they let my other one slide. I think he was like right on the cusp. So
Oh, they definitely let like I texted my friend as soon as we got in, and I was like, hey, I was like, tell Alyssa she's 11 tonight because I told them
hmm
my daughter was 11. They let her free, but apparently it was 10 and under. And like when he got
hmm
there, he told her it was 11, and she was like, she's gonna be 10 this weekend, and they let her in for free too. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
well, that's what I told him. I said I got an 8 and 11, and on Saturday for like the think it was a little bit more on Saturday, for the adults. But when I paid, I was, Brian was like, "What?" I said, "The kids are fine. Just don't worry about it. Just walk on. Just walk on.
Take it and go. Take it and go.
Just be quiet. Just enjoy yourself."
But yeah, all in all, like I said, it was a fun time. I'll probably go next year, especially if my daughters are wanting to go, and they really, really enjoyed that. I think the next one I'm going to shoot for is there's a small con here in Fayetteville coming up at the end of next month. I might try to go to that. It's just a 1-day thing. I'm sure it's probably nothing, but I'm going to try to start going to more. And then I want to go to GalaxyCon.
Oh, yeah, dude. I already got my tickets.
But I was looking at it, and to be honest with you, it was only like 3 people that I was like really interested in meeting. And it wasn't even like a matter of like, oh, I really want to see these people. They were just the 3 most interesting people there for me. And it was like Patrick Warburton, because I'd love to meet him. Actually, he's the guy that I would love to meet.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Katie Sackhoff, just by name.
Oh yeah.
And then the author, God, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy who writes, I can't even remember the name of the comic now.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Anyway, I'll look at it and figure it out. But yeah, other than that, there weren't a lot of people I wanted to meet, but I'm sure there's still a whole lot of stuff to do there.
Well, Tom Welling. And I believe Brent Spiner's going to be there. He was supposed to be there last year, but he ended up canceling. And then, oh God, Travis Hines is going to kill me because I can't think of his name, but Green Arrow, he was there.
Amell.
Yeah, Stephen Amell. So he ended up being there. So I actually had a Green Arrow, had a Flash Green Arrow CW poster that he actually signed. But I did get the family photo with Shatner, so I'm good on that.
Shatner's gonna be there this year too.
I know, but like I said, but Brent Spiner. I'm like, I've got to have data. I've got to have data.
See,
He's
that's
old.
my thing is, I would only want to see that by name. Like I know who he is, and I know the character he's famous for, but beyond that, that's it for me. So it'd be cool to see him, but it's not somebody that's gonna draw me there.
Tom Welling.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. I'm sorry. You have to remember Smallville, even though I love Smallville, but that's got it like a place in the history of like Brian and I, because
I hear you.
Throughout us dating, we would always get together. I think it was like a Thursday night. We would get hibachi and watch Smallville. And that's how I knew he was about to propose, because I ended up going to the house like on a Tuesday instead of like a Thursday. I'm like, well, what's going on?
That's it's funny. I've never seen Smallville.
See,
I always say that to people. Just I never watched it. It got past my radar. I never saw. So maybe I should go back and give that one a retro. But it's only like 10 seasons, right?
Yeah,
it's not much to catch up.
And
on.
I think Erica Durance. I think they announced she's going to be there as well. Which, sorry, Tom is on my.
Like I said, I'm sure.
I think 10 Tizzy's like. I think he's yelling at you, dude.
Yeah, I know. I get a lot of crap for that, man. I get a lot of crap for that. I just, it's just something that I never. That was that time period in my life, But I don't know. So, Nathan says, "Did you ask Tom Welling to do a love session with you in the hubs?"
I haven't had a chance yet.
But it's on the table.
That's in July, Nathan. That's in July.
Yeah. Yes, I do remember it is. That's what I'm saying. I can go back and catch up on it, I'm sure, and probably watch it without previews now and binging model. Probably watch 10 seasons pretty quickly, but not quickly, a few weeks. But I don't know, man. I just
there's just a lot of great things. There's a lot of great things in that show. That's one that I probably need to do a rewatch of that too, because it has been a minute since I've seen it. But it's just so ingrained. It's just like when I hear that, because I actually got the soundtrack. So whenever you hear the opening song, which is by Remy Zero, "Save Me," it's like sometimes I'll pull that out and just listen to it. And it's just it's just
nostalgia back.
Memories just to wash over. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's one that just like sticks with you. So,
like I said, that might be one that I have to check out, but we'll see. Panther Pickle, we're going to talk about Picard here in just a little bit, and we'll answer some of that stuff for you, or at least try to. But okay, so enough about the cons. We'll go, unless there's something else you wanted to say. I say
no. I just think it's just fantastic, and it's like I was telling Brian. It's like I really need to like get more into that, because there's a lot that you see and learn, and especially it's something, especially if your kids are interested in it, because my kids are more interested in anime than I am, because. I'm trying to keep up with it's like I found out Claire's all about Nezuko, which is the little dude's sister on Demon Slayer. I'm like, I didn't even realize you were all about that. I'm like, okay. So
Hey, I'm telling you, some anime, some good stuff. Everything that I've watched so far, I've really enjoyed.
yeah, so
I'm just not as deep into it.
I know. Well, I just think it's cool that the kids have interests like that too.
Oh yeah.
We have our interests, they have their interests, and it's cool to
Mhm.
kind of see them because you see the little faces light up, and you're just like, this is cool. He's like, this is because my parents never took me to stuff like this.
Nope.
I mean, I was good to go to movies and stuff, but I mean, just to
Mhm.
actually go out and yeah.
I think it was also a different time. I don't know if I could be speaking completely out of line here. I don't know if there were cons like this as many when we were younger, and if
Well, I
there
mean, there was
were, it was
always, some type of experiences. It's just an
yeah,
experience to share with your kids. I mean, that's the way I kind of look at it. And,
yeah.
it's just like GalaxyCon, dude. I'm like so excited about that because I mean, I was geeking out just as hard as, everybody else.
Yeah.
So
Nathan
yeah.
says, tell Sarah you need to watch out for the anime boobies. Says your boy is on the verge. Yes, he is.
Oh, God.
Lots of
Yeah.
boobies in anime. That is for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Lots of boobies
Because
in anime
even they were walking
cosplay.
around because they had a lot of like the drawing stuff, my kids were like, oh, I'm like, yep, yeah. So
You remember there, it's just drawings. At a con, it's real. Like those are real boobies.
yeah, exactly.
So, but all right, cool. Well, yeah, I'd recommend for anybody if you haven't gone to a con, check it out.
Yeah, it's fun.
They're
It's
fun.
fun.
They're very, very fun. Well, before we get into the because we're going to talk about that 5-minute Batman clip that came out. Before we get into that, I wanted to ask you if there's anything new you're watching because there's one show me and my wife started watching this morning that's you definitely need to check out if you haven't.
There was one show that Ross had mentioned, that Guardians of the Universe or whatever it was.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I saw
didn't
the
get a chance to
first
watch
2
it.
episodes.
Uh-huh.
That shit is nuts.
Yeah.
That shit is crazy. But it's like when I kind of read a little bit about it, it's meant to be like that. I mean, it's like, it's wild.
I want to say there's something like Ruby in the name or something, isn't there? A Rose, or I can't remember. I don't know.
I don't know. It was because I think I actually watched like the first 2 episodes, and I texted Ross. I'm like, what in the hell did I just watch?
Ross is in the chat room right now. He says
Guardians of Justice. There you go.
Yeah.
That shit was crazy.
I'll have to check it out. Nathan's asked me what I got. Look, if you there's a show called Upload. Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell's cousin or whatever he is, he's the main character in it. This show is fucking crazy, man. It's the creator of The Office and Parks and Rec. Okay, so when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm sold. Let me check it out. So I'm assuming it's going to be like a comedy, and it does have kind of like a comedic underlying tone to it, like anything you see Paul Rudd in type deal,
Yeah.
Paul Rudd's not in this, but like that kind of style. And it's just a crazy concept. Like it's basically a show about when you die, your consciousness is uploaded into a program, like a digital city, and you can interact with live people. And like the live people on the outside are the ones who sometimes are in control of like what you can do and where like it's pretty crazy. And like I said, I thought it was going to be like a sitcom comedy going through, but there's actually a storyline that rolls through it. And about the halfway through the second or third episode, they drop like this big thing, and you're like, oh, this is not the kind of show I thought it was. Like there's something you're actually trying to figure out here. Like, okay, we got a little mystery involved. So it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. I think we got to the 4th episode this morning. I'm definitely gonna give it a rewatch because I think it's got its 2nd season. But Upload is a really, really cool show.
Now, is that on Netflix?
That is on Prime.
Okay.
So
all right, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. So Tin Tizzy's seen it. He says it's funny as fuck. Yeah, I mean it's definitely got its moments where it's not just straight comedic, but it's definitely got its moments like, okay, they did a good job there, But I really, really enjoyed that one. I would recommend checking that out.
Of course, Nathan. I mean, we wouldn't expect any less of you, buddy. Then you need to watch The Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah. So you're saying there's some dong in there?
In like the 1st or 2nd episode? Yeah.
Watch Pam and Tommy. That's where you'll get the most graphic one you've ever seen on screen. But yeah, I just want to say that check that show out if you haven't. It's a really, really fun one. I need to check out that Guardians of Justice show. Ross,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get through that because it's got an interesting story. I mean, let's put it this way: Diamond Dallas Page is like one of the main characters.
Does he perform the diamond cutter like
Yes,
anybody? Okay,
yes,
I'm down. I'm
yes,
down because I want to see the diamond cutter. I haven't seen it in forever. It's one of the baddest ass moves ever in wrestling. I want to see it.
yes,
So,
yes.
I'm down.
So
Plus,
yeah,
wasn't he in? I've seen him act in a few other things. I thought, and he didn't do a bad job.
it's been so. You mean wrestling?
Yeah, other than
I'm
wrestling.
sorry.
Other than wrestling. Hey,
Well, I mean,
it's
it's
a
just
good.
I haven't seen him in so long, so it was just kind of like I'm like, there's this voice, you hear this voice, and I'm like, well, because it's like a mask. When you first meet him, it's like a masked character, and like I said, I've only seen the first 2 episodes, so it's when you got to invest in. It's kind of like The Boys, it's you got to invest in it. And it's crazy, kind of along those lines, which I haven't seen the animated Boys, so I can only imagine because this is kind of like not quite an animated, but a live action kind of. Because there's a lot of sequences in there. It's just really. Some of it's like really kind of blasé, but it's really cool take on it. So I mean, it did keep my attention.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just like I heard this voice. I'm like, who is this guy? And then I looked it up. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me, for real. So it was really cool. It was really cool.
That's what's up. Well, I got nothing else. I'm trying to think what. I've been watching a lot of college basketball this week, so I haven't had a lot of time to watch new stuff. I'm not gonna lie. The Carolina kickoff is here in just a minute, and I'm gonna have it on my phone in the background here, so you'll see me glance every once in a while. I said kickoff, didn't I? Tip off, excuse me. Football in the brain. Sorry.
Speaking of kickoff, I just have to shout out to this. My boy's birthday is today. Number 16, Brandon Zylstra.
Oh.
I was like,
I just met your son. He's not 16. Get out of here. But
he's about as tall as you are, though.
That's not saying much. That's not saying much. I come from a short stock. I'm Jewish, man. I can't help it. It's part of the deal, man. Small people.
But I told you, I said, because you did get to meet my kids, and they're something else, aren't they?
You didn't get to talk to them very much, but they're I mean, they seemed into it, and they're tall. Like I said, your kids are taller than me. Shoot, my 15-year-old's almost taller than me, though. So
yeah, it was cool.
I had to make peace with being short at like 9, 10 years old because that was just the way it was going to be. Otherwise, I'd be upset my whole life. So not saying it's still upsetting, but all right. Well, you want to get into?
Let's talk Halo.
You want to talk Halo? Or you want to talk the?
Let's talk Halo real quick. Let's talk Halo real quick.
Okay, cool.
Okay, the reason I want to talk Halo so quick. This is the reason why. It's because number one, Brian has played Halo from day one. So I've never played it. I think I tried to one time, but that's just not my type of game. So I was really curious to see what his reaction was going to be, since he knows, all the characters, storylines, and that kind of thing. So I watched it on Thursday. I had like a break from work, and I'm like, I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to watch it. And I'm watching it. I was like, this is interesting. So when Brian came home, we watched it again. He's not a fan. But I don't know if it's the fact because he knows he's played it. He knows the story. He knows the characters.
Okay.
Because I don't know if any of you fellas in the chat room have seen the first episode of Halo or not. Because I don't want to get into spoilers yet. I don't really, want to talk. But there's just some.
I don't know. I think you should drop some spoilers. It's been a few days since it's been out, or 2 days now.
Well, it came out Thursday.
True.
It came out Thursday, so out of hell with it. We're just going to
I say drop some
full
spoilers.
Full spoilers.
Yeah, we're reviewing it.
So the main thing was it's like leading up because that last trailer, you're just like, are you going to see Master Chief? How are they going to handle Master Chief? Is he going to be a character? Because he's always that's who you basically play as. From what I understand, I could be wrong, but anyways, he's always been kind of like a nameless, like a faceless type character. You just knew who he was. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm really curious to see how they're going to set this up because, towards the end of the episode, we're sitting there and Brian's like, oh, hell, they're not. I said, yo, they sure did. So you meet Master Chief, which I guess on one side of you have to create some type of story. But then again, I think once you kind of dive into the creation of this series, I don't think these guys really watched or really or keeping to like the story of Halo. I
Right.
think they're taking the world and the characters and just creating their own thing.
It's like kind of like a Mortal Kombat type thing. It's part of the reason why it's so difficult to do video
Hmm.
games into movies and shows. I think. You know, I didn't watch it till this morning. I when I got on my phone this morning and I opened up Google, it gives you the feed of all the stuff that related to what you use the algorithm feed. And the very bottom of the feed, it's like Halo, the next line of bad adaptations from comic books to or from video games to live action. And I was like, oh no, didn't click on it because like I don't want it to sully my opinion before I watch it.
Yeah.
But shortly after that, I turned it on and watched it. I go into Halo. I probably know more than you about it, but probably
Hmm.
not much because I played it quite a bit in like college and everything. But when I played it, it was just me and my buddies playing each other. It wasn't playing the storyline. So
Yeah.
I know the looks, the sounds, the guns, stuff like that. But I don't know any of the history or anything like that. So I'm going into it kind of blind, but just knowing about the characters. I didn't think it was that bad. There were
Well,
some things about it that I want to bring up that was just kind of like I don't know about that, and maybe
yeah.
they can answer this in the future. But I didn't really think it was that bad. Like it left me wanting to know what happens next, which is what you want the intro to do, and I'm not lost going in. Like by the end of this episode, I know every character. I know what their position is, and now I want to know where they're going, what their objective is from here. And that's what I wanted from a premiere for it.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's like I just wanted to get Brian's like first initial reaction to see because
Mhm.
he's like, oh yeah, they're bringing these guys in, they're doing, this and that. Because I thought it was cool as hell the way they introduced the Spartans. They just pop, pop, pop. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, because some shit was about to go down.
Hmm.
It was about to
Yeah.
get crazy. But I don't know. I guess it's just like the humanitarian side of it. Just like having the characters, seeing how they interact. I'm just like, I think that's the big thing for me to kind of get used to.
Right.
Because you have like this iconic character, and you're like, oh, so you're going to kind of bring him down a notch to kind of make him more human. Because let's face it, Master Chief. I mean, he's like superhuman, dude. I mean, that's just that iconic character that you always think about. So, or at
Well,
least that's always been my impression.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, like I said, I went into it with no kind of knowledge of Master Chief. I know who Master Chief is, but as
Hmm.
far as I understood it, there wasn't a lot of background story to him himself.
Hmm.
Anybody in the chat who knows anything else can correct me, and maybe there is. So maybe in this, they're just trying to develop a story, a plausible story that you could use for this character. Which, from what it looks like he's somebody that they're using um, as a weapon,
Yeah,
basically. It has
yeah.
no memory of his past, and they're using him as a weapon type deal.
Well, I mean, and I think that's cool. I think once I get over that initial, like, okay, this is what my preconceived notion or what I've known, what little I know. So I think now once I kind of push that to the side, now I'm ready to go move forward and just enjoy it for the story that it is.
Mm.
Because it's kind of like I told Brian, I was like, well, they've got you want to see Master Chief's face. I mean, they're going to introduce this character because obviously he's going to be a main character,
Mm.
duh. But I mean, it's just like once you kind of get past that. So I think it's going to be interesting. I just hope it doesn't. I mean, what did you think about the CGI?
There were some moments that I looked at and I was like, this is kind of wonky. Like, especially whenever you'd see them, like the Spartans run and then jump and land on something, I was like, that looks kind of weird. The characters themselves, like the Covenant,
Mm,
I thought they looked pretty good.
the elites. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting like the best stuff I've ever seen. This is a streaming service show. I mean, it's for what they were, what I was expecting. I was satisfied. Let's put it that way. The close-ups weren't too bad. I thought the swords looked badass the way they used
Hmm.
them. Um, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I didn't see a lot wrong with this episode. That's why when I didn't read that article, when I saw that title for that article, I was like, I don't want it to mess my opinion up. And then I
Hmm.
haven't gone back and read it because after I watched it, I was like, well, I don't agree with that just from the title. So I'm not even going to give it the time of day, you know?
We'll see, and that's what I'm saying. It's just like because I think that was a lot of whomever had like played it, and whatever story there was in that. Because Brian's always one. He always plays the storyline first, then he'll go back
Mhm.
in and whatever. But it was just really interesting because I mean, like I said, as a whole, I enjoyed it. I'm like, okay, I think that we're setting it up to be something because at Dr. Halsey, I'm like, this chick is shady as hell, and I want to see what's going on. I mean, because there's some crazy shit about to go down.
You know what the worst part about Halsey was? Is I could not figure out for the life of me where I knew her from. Could you think of anything else you'd seen her in?
No, all I could think of is like, I want that hairstyle.
I definitely
Sorry.
think that I've wanted hair for years, so that's always a thought that I have. But no, I was
She
looking at it
did
and I
look
was like,
familiar though.
she was from. Did you ever watch Californication?
No, I didn't, but I've
She
probably
was
seen like I hadn't seen the whole show, but I've probably like seen like tidbits from.
little bits and pieces of it.
Hmm.
Okay, she's like David Duchovny's girl in Californication.
Okay.
So I had to look that up, and as soon as I looked it up, I was like, oh, how did I not know that? And she
Yeah.
stars in some other stuff too, but that's what I would know her from. But yeah, interesting character. I don't know if her motives are bad or good, to be truly honest with you, because the way it's kind of being portrayed right now, if Master Chief rebelling or guess doing what he's doing is actually the right thing to do,
All right.
So if she's on his side, I don't know if she's really a bad guy, but I don't know if she's on his side or not, to be
Well,
truly
see, and
honest.
that was an interesting thing too, because she was standing up for him, and even what she told the other Spartans, she's like, protect Master Chief, no matter
Hmm.
what goes down.
Hmm.
But I mean, I think there's some political intrigue afoot too. So, especially when you find out that the one girl that actually talked to Quan, you find out that's apparently her daughter,
Hmm.
but they're kind of like butting heads on certain things.
Right.
This guy, because I think it was just kind of weird how they had that lab and just had all the pieces of the Covenant. You had like limbs and heads and torsos, and I was just like, okay, well, y'all doing some mad studying, but still.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Covenant. We talked about the CGI a minute ago, and I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I didn't know anything going in. So whenever they said Spartans, because at the very beginning, the town's describing how Spartans are killers and
Hmm.
and death and blah. And like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know that Master Chief and those guys are the good guys, so Spartans must be bad guys. That must be the people they're after. Then the first ones they introduce is the Covenant, and I'm thinking that's the Spartans because they're unkillable beasts. And when they first come to the city, they're shooting at them with these guns, and it's doing nothing,
Hmm.
right? So then the Spartans get there. Okay, I learned then that those are the Spartans. The actual good guys are the
Hmm.
Spartans, and this is where there's a political
Because you
involvement
remember
there.
they said Marines, and then they said Spartans.
Right, right. Because I thought the Marines were Master Chief in them. That's what I thought they were talking about.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so they get there, and this is one thing that bothered me was when they use their own guns. I'm cool with it. They come down, they use their own guns, they shoot the Covenant goes down. They couldn't do it with the guns that the Resistance had or whoever there was, but they could do it with their guns. But when they pick up the guns that the Resistance has and start shooting at the
Uh-huh.
Covenant and take them down, how does that work? Like, why does that gun work for you, but it didn't work for them? And people would say, "Oh, aiming," but that was a minigun. Like that's what's on the front of an A10 Warthog. like that gun. All you got to do is point and pray. You don't got to pray. You just got to point, and,
Yeah,
and you're
exactly. I
going to
mean, you
take
just
something
like
out.
point, shoot, and just yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't understand. I saw that and I was like, I don't really like that. How does it work for them, but it doesn't work for them? But I see how you got to do it. You got to make it look like they're superior and they're so much better. Okay, I get it. I also didn't like how whenever Kwan was there and her dad was there, and they were the last two. Okay, they're the last two people in this village. All the Covenant's been killed except for this one. So you have what was their Silver Team?
Uh-huh.
I can't Silver Team something was whatever the four Spartans were called,
Hmm.
walking around all, and there's just one guy left. Neither one of them run. Why would you, like, she's under the car and the thing's running at her? Get up and run away, first of all. Don't just stand there under the car. And then when her dad's right there beside him, he starts moving towards him, fight him. Fucking run. You've just seen these Spartans take these things out, and they've wiped everybody out. Run.
Hmm.
Like I don't understand. And I guess
You
it's
got to
'cause they
set the
didn't have.
heroes up. You got to set the heroes up.
That's true. That's true. Because they did have the line earlier, and I thought it was funny that they were like, "We're warriors," as they're looking for a place to hide from the fight. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's all right. We're
Well, see,
warriors."
that would be my
And
first response because number one, if I see something like this, I'm like, makes me wonder what else in their world have you seen? Because I would be hell of a lot more freaked out. I don't even know if I'd try to even fight that because, yeah. So I'm
Mhm.
curious to see how that's going to shape up as far as like how they came about, how this war started, because it sounds like you've got the Covenant, you've got the, what was it, MCSU? You've got them fighting the Covenant, but then you got these rebels that are rebelling against the MCSU. I'm thinking, okay, what
USU.
politically, what is going on right here?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely weird, especially because they said I think they said it, they've been fighting them for X amount of years and they don't know anything
Uh-huh.
about them or the even reason that they're fighting for.
Uh-huh.
But then you go to the Covenant's jellyfish ship,
Yep.
which by the way, it looked just like a jellyfish.
Hmm.
Their headquarters, which we don't know where it's at, and there's a human on there,
That looks
which
like
they
Lady
haven't.
Gaga.
Yeah, I guess they haven't explained that story, and I don't know where they're going to go with that in the future. Maybe that's something in the background, but they I have no idea. I don't, is that if that's anything involved with the game or if that's just something they're creating for the show. I'm not sure.
Well, I will say this: it's because when you saw the dude that was on, that was, I don't even know what they're called, but when you saw him coming through when they were on the ship when he was talking to the human, Brian was like, "Oh, they've got these guys." I was like, "Okay, so that's in there." So, and then you
Okay.
also at some point, I'm just curious how they're going to introduce, or if they're going to have like the other characters known as the Flood, which they're like nightmare-esque things as well, which not like the elite smart, but you know how it goes.
Right.
The whole covenant thing is just, but it's just, I'm really interested to see how it unfolds because I think, like I said, you're taking these iconic characters and you're throwing them in there. And even for somebody that hasn't, doesn't know anything about the game itself, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to go in there with just like an open mind. I've already kind of got my preconceived notions pushed out of the way. So.
Right. Hey, like I said, I enjoyed the first episode. It caught me enough to where I wanna see more.
Mhm.
Like I said, with the exception of a couple things, like they don't explain why Master Chief doesn't uh, commit the Article 72 after they send him the murder to
Mhm.
murder Quan, right? They
Mhm.
kind of do, and I think it's that moment they have together where they're talking, and she makes the argument where he's talking about how the reason why he did this, the orders were changed, talking about killing her mother. The
Mhm.
orders were changed. I was told to do this. They were an imminent threat. And then she was like, what were they a threat from? He was like, I have people who know things that I don't know. What I see on the ground may not be true. And then
Mhm.
her rebuttal was, well, doesn't that work both ways? And it does. And I think that's that moment that clicked in his
Mhm.
mind because it does work both ways. Maybe what you're seeing on the ground doesn't reflect what they're seeing up there. It's just interesting how they made the choice for him to do it. But I mean, I'm sure it all ties into that artifact, which I
Absolutely,
thought
that's what I was
looked
about to
really
say.
cool the way they did that. You know, I love the effect of that. But he's starting to get memories back. I'm not sure.
Well, see, that's the thing about it too. I think that the way he was conditioned probably is like one of those situations where, it was probably like a young guy, came in, they did all these, whatever repressed because didn't Halsey say something to or allude to the fact that kind of took his memory out or
Hmm.
something along those lines. Because the other dude, he would, when he said something about memories, he's like, oh, like oh shit, something's wrong with the program.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably gonna. I'm curious to see how that unfolds because that way that's how you're gonna go back and learn how these Spartans became so damn elite. I mean, because
Hmm.
to be able to in these suits, because I mean, realistically, I mean, I don't think these suits would be very articulate because I mean, there's
Yeah.
like just a lot going on,
Yeah.
especially for them to be as nimble as they are.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I mean,
that's just.
I can tell you just there's really no way to make any kind of body armor easy to to move around in. I can tell you right now, it's just not going to happen. But the way it looks, I think, is amazing. And I thought the way they made the Spartans look in this episode looked great, which I thought
um,
it was interesting. Apparently, Master Chief is different than the other Spartans though, because he talked about how his suit helped out with his vitals and everything else, which makes me think that he's almost like Vader-esque. He needs his suit to survive.
or if that's
Does
just the
that
way they control them.
maybe? But the other ones you saw totally Iron Man'd it up, where they like walked into the circle and spread their arms and legs, and the suit built itself around them. And I was like, okay, so the other ones are different than him. We just don't know how yet. They're loyal, but we don't know how yet. So, and then I didn't like Quan in the. Okay, so he doesn't execute the order to kill them, so they take matters in their own hands. They kill the oxygen on the ship, trying to knock them out so they can come
Mm-hmm.
there, right? Why after that is Quan like holding the gun at him and like getting mad at him? I'm like, dumbass, he just saved you. He's trying to save you. He's explaining that to you, and you're
She
still
has
being a
all
dumbass
this.
about it.
She has all this mistrust that's been ingrained in her. It's like
I get that,
because right
yeah.
there before her father died, as she said, for her entire life, he had always been fighting, the rebellion, against, the Spartans, against all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Right there at that moment when the Spartans come in to save their village for the most part, at that point, I think he realizes, hey, they're here to help. But he's never able to tell his daughter that because, there's like this moment here and he's just like, okay, I get it. I get it. Or at least for this moment in time, you guys are the good guys.
Right.
But she still has that, ingrained in her to where, they've always been the bad guys. So you have this trust. And I think that's what a part of the storyline too. Cause I'm like, this chick is going to be a part of it. She's going to be like one of the main characters. And now I could be wrong, but sometimes the way things are set up like that, where, I'm like somebody, just a little human female juvenile. I mean, how big of a role is she going to play? So,
yeah, I'm sure it'll be a main one. I mean, how long before you start seeing that haircut, everybody?
God, I hope not.
I'm trying to think. Is there anything else about this that really stood out to me? It's kind of hard to talk a lot about it because the first episode did introduce a lot of characters, and like I said, it did a good job where I remember these characters now. I know who's in what role, and I kind of have an idea of what direction they're going in. They left me interested to see what happens next, and that's all I needed in the show. It's not the best show ever, but it's a fun watch, and I think that it'll be something that I keep up with weekly. I can give it an hour a week.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, they finally make their getaway at the end too, so it's going to be interesting to see where do you go from here. Like if you're them, like, where do you go from here?
I don't know. That's what we tune in next week.
Well, I do hate that Brian didn't like it because I hate whenever like there's something for me that I really enjoy and they're putting it on a.
I'm gonna make him watch it. I'm gonna make him watch it because I'm like, dude, it's like, I mean, Halo was always a game. Like I said, like Halo and Destiny. That was something that he always played. But I'm like, dude, I'm gonna make you watch this. We're gonna follow this because there's still some other aspects of that I'm still curious to see. Like I said, the flood. That's like another one. And I'm like, damn it, I want to see the Needler too. That better pop up at some point.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Too popular of a gun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and it's like talking about the guns and all the different types of guns and stuff. And he's the energy sword and all this because that energy sword. I was like, okay, I recognize that one off the bat. So I'm gonna make him stick with it. I said, we're gonna watch this.
Well, I wonder, are his problems with it like issues that can't be fixed? Or something that he didn't see that might be fixed. Because I'm hoping that if he keeps watching it, maybe like some of his questions are answered, or maybe they go a direction. He's like, okay, I'm cool with that, and like I said, I'm hoping it's something he likes.
Well, so that's what I'm trying. That's what we're trying to figure out too. Because since it being just the first episode, and I think once you get over the fact of okay, yes, you got to see Master Chief as a individual character. You actually saw his face. He is a person.
Right.
I think once you kind of get past that, I'm just like, all right, dude, let's just watch it. Let's just roll with it. We'll see what happens.
At least they gave it to you in the first episode.
Yeah.
So.
Which I mean, and also another point too. He was thinking, well, why couldn't they do something like kind of did with Mandalorian? Let it go and then do a reveal. And I'm like, I kind of debated against that because I'm like, well, I think right off the bat, it's like that's what the story's going to kind of revolve around because you need to kind of see Master Chief's, humanity or something. See, I didn't even know his name was John. I looked at Brian, I'm like, John? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, that's right. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. But like I said, he's played the story mode on this. So he's gone through all that. So some of these details. So and I totally get how it is. It's hard to follow and it's you feel like it's like this, but I'm like, dude, it's like anything else. I mean, even some of the stuff in the MCU, like with Infinity War. I mean, you didn't go, it wasn't comic accurate.
Right. I mean, they weren't telling the exact same story. Right.
Yeah, exactly. You're taking bits and pieces and you're kind of creating a somewhat type story or a similar type story. So I'm like, just roll with it, dude. Just roll with it. It's cool. It'll be fine.
I think he'll end up coming around. Well, I can say that it could end up going to crap and the show being crap, but I hope he ends up coming around with it. So.
Well, I had a good impression. Like I said, once you got through all the other stuff, I think it's going to be interesting. It's got my interest. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I will say it was cool. The music, they hit the music at the right point in times. They hit the, I liked when they were battling and I I remember in Halo when your health gets low, you get that alert.
You heard that sound. It's
you
like your
heard
shield
that.
like regenerating.
And then when he regenerated, you heard that sound too, and I was like, okay, that was cool. I've played the game enough to know that, and I remember that was cool. So I like little things like that they did there. So for me, like I said, they did a good job.
Well, I mean, and for something like that, I don't think it would work if you actually did follow the storyline, from the game. I don't think it would have worked. I think there's other details you need to add to it in order to create a more fuller story, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
But that's all I have to say about Halo.
All got to say about that. All right, well let's move on. We'll be covering that. That comes out weekly, so we'll just cover that same night. Comes out same night card, right?
No, Picard comes. No, yes, it does. That's right. Because Discovery came out on Wednesday and Picard comes on Thursday. So these both come on Thursday, and they're both on Paramount.
Thursday's a Paramount Plus day for me now, or Friday morning, one of the two. All right. Well, before we get into Picard, let's discuss that juicy little clip we got dropped the other day of the deleted scene from the Batman with the Joker in it. Give me your thoughts on this one, because I've seen all different kinds of thoughts on this one. I want to see if you give me a new one.
No, I think pretty much letting you guys know, I was just like deranged, psychotic, just scarred and scabbed and just gross. I'm like, oh, it's like Batman's like just psychopath therapist, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it was really creepy. It was just
creepy creepy is a really, really good word for it. And here's the thing is I've seen a lot of people online, both back and forth about how much they love it or how much they hate it. And I guess you're going to get that with anything.
Yeah.
But for me, just that 5-minute clip was 5 minutes, 5 seconds. I mean, of course they're talking throughout the whole thing, but it's only 5 minutes of dialogue between the two. You don't really even see much of him and fully. You see glimpses of him. You kind of get a couple decent looks at him, but you don't really get to see it in whole. I don't have enough to judge whether I like this or not. What I can tell you is it doesn't look like something that, like, right off the bat I would be totally down for, but it does look like something that if I'm given a proper story and the acting's done right, I can roll with it. I just need more before I determine whether this is a bad Joker or not. I don't think anybody should be judging whether this is a bad Joker or not. It's just
my thing. If you're going to introduce a Joker like this, it's like my interest, even though I was like creeped the hell out, my interest was piqued enough to where, what is up with this dude? Because just that little bit of dialogue, there's some history there. There's something. This is not the first time, or that was just the impression I got.
Right.
Because otherwise, why would you be coming to him unless it's like, was the Joker have some kind of psychological background? I mean, because, why? Or you're just asking the crazy, okay, you're crazy. You're psychotic. Okay, this dude's psychotic. Okay, maybe I can get your psychotic opinion. So I don't know, but it was enough to kind of, because when you see something like that, for me, I'm just like, what happened to this dude? Yeah. Because I didn't really, because the reason I say that is because, like, with Leto's Joker, I didn't really want to, when I saw him, I wasn't like, what happened to this dude? I just kind of took him for face value.
Right.
But with this one, because seems like there's a lot more layers there, and plus he sounded like a younger one too. He sounded like a younger Joker. We're kind of used to, like, I don't know, like older ones were kind of more experienced, if that makes any sense.
I always picture him and Batman around the same age. Joker and Batman, like, in my mind. So
if you've got Batman starting out, maybe he came across him in year one.
Well,
this is year 2, so.
Here's the thing is that's my thing is I think of the two choices you had there, for me, it's more the latter. It's just, hey, you caught me before. I'm a psycho. And because I have psychotic traits, you're coming to me because you don't know what to do with this. Because I feel like if it's year 1 or 2 of Batman, you don't have enough time to have an arch enemy yet.
Yeah.
Like,
but there's got to be some reasoning behind it, because it just felt like, I don't know. It's but
reasoning behind him going there, or reasoning behind them dropping the clip?
No, reason behind, like, Batman and Joker having some type of previous type relationship, or some kind of interaction.
I think, to be honest with you, the only reason that was ever filmed was just fan service. It was just to have, just because it was going to be in the movie and they cut it out for time.
Yeah.
They didn't need that scene in the movie whatsoever. The movie worked just fine without it. if it could have been put in there, it would have worked just fine with it too, but it didn't need to be in there. I think that was the reason why it was cut. It was one of those fan service moments,
Yeah.
where cool, we got to see the next version of the Joker type deal. And
Well, I think Reeves did talk about that to where, because it was like Brian and I were talking about that. And I was like, well, you do think there'll be like a director's cut? He's like, no, there's not going to be a director's cut, or from what he has read. And a lot, some other folks or other things that you've read was, they didn't put that in there because, it may not have added that much to it. But then again, it's like it might have overshadowed, like the Riddler, that
right,
kind of thing. Because, whenever you say like Batman and Joker, I mean, obviously Joker, just in, historically or whatnot, that's always been like the prime number one villain. That's Batman's arch enemy number one. So I think it kind of would have lessened maybe like what was going on in the Riddler, so it wouldn't be as that, forefront.
right.
But it was still a cool idea. So I was like, maybe that might be what's coming up next. I don't know. This Joker, I'm like I said, no matter how much it creeped me out, I kind of want to see where that goes because this one is like really freaking creepy.
It is. It fits very, very in line with this tone they've given this universe that he's in.
Yes.
Like it fits in there. It's like I said, I don't have enough to judge him off yet. I want to see it, and yes, I
Yeah.
definitely think it's going to be in the next movie. He'll be a character in the next movie, or at least a bigger character in this trilogy, because you don't drop that scene in there otherwise. And I don't think you drop that scene on the internet unless you're trying to pump up your pre-sales for the
Yeah.
hard copy when it comes out. Because I'm sure that'll be in the hard copy
Oh yeah,
as a
absolutely.
deleted scene you can watch.
But
So
have you
that's
seen some of the
probably where I'll be.
stills, like of like his close up, like the stills, like with his mouth, with like all the teeth and
It's
I'm
pretty
like,
gross. Yeah,
I'm
they
like,
did a
what
pretty
happened?
good
It's like
job.
I'm like, what happened to this guy?
Well, it makes you wonder
Did
what the
he fall
subject
into the
was.
vat of acid? I'm
I don't
like,
know.
holy shit.
I'm sure we're gonna find out with Matt Reeves' Batman what's going on with the Joker next. You got to. It's like standard procedure now. You
Oh
know.
yeah, dude, I'm already ready to see it again. I'm telling this, there's just something about this movie that is just, I don't know, it's crazy. Because like I said, Brian and Claire went and saw it last Sunday, and Brian was even like, he's like, the more I see this, it's like the more I like it.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of the way I'm gonna be too. I've only seen it the once. I definitely want to go see it again. I don't know if I'll go see it in theater again, but I want to see it again soon.
Uh-huh.
When it comes out. It's just like I said, it's not my Batman yet, but I got a pretty good feel in the direction it's going. That by the end of the trilogy, I'm like, okay, this is the best Batman. Because even rewatching that scene with the Joker, I was looking at Pattinson in the cowl, just that one scene
Uh-huh.
hit stand with the cowl, not the rest of the suit or anything, but that does look good. Like he looks good
Uh-huh.
in the cowl, the chops, like the open face, like it looks pretty good. I'm like, okay, that's Batman
Are
right
you
there.
good with that? You still don't like the
I'm
collar,
starting to
but you
like.
good with everything else.
I'm actually okay with the collar too. Like I said, it's just the armored suit is not the armored suit and the powers the suit gives him is my biggest issue, but not enough to knock me out of Batman. I've seen a lot of bad Batman suits.
Yeah.
This one doesn't rank anywhere near the worst Batman suits ever, for sure. It's just not my cup of tea, but I grow with the character. So,
Well, I
I,
think I think one of the other things I like about it is the, like I said, the psychological aspect. It's like like the noir. It's a detective film, and and I think this, just seeing that little clip for that, I mean, that's adding to it as well. It's same difference as when he was talking to the Riddler. It's not just go in there and beat him up and throw him into Arkham. I mean, there's actually more. There's more dialogue. There's more analytical type things going on here. So I think it's just more of a thriller to me, honestly.
what films have done recently that's made them better, as far as superhero films at least, is they've given the villains more of character depth, and like now you see reasoning a lot of times behind villains. It's not just good guys fighting bad
Hmm.
guys. You see reasoning behind villains, and a lot of times, to be truly honest with you, some of the stuff the villains are saying is not wrong. Like
Right.
it's really not. It's just the way you're going about it. It's not the right way to do it. But your mindset's not wrong. Like you are right.
It's just
I
you
don't
had
know.
a different reaction than the normal person.
Right, right. You didn't fill out the proper paperwork, or you didn't go to the
Yes.
right line. So um, I don't know, but yeah, the villains being so great is, and that's for me that's what DC just nails the villains, man. Like well, with the exception of maybe Parallax and Green Lantern. I love that movie, but yeah, I should have done that. DC does a great job with villains. So, all right, well, 5 Minute Batman clip. If you haven't checked it out, it's all over the internets, and you know it'll be out there, and I'm sure it'll be on the hard copy whenever it comes out, and I'm sure we're gonna see Joker in the very near future of the Batman series.
Reeves is set up for a very interesting one. I mean, that's because, like I said, it invoked an emotion where you're like, instead of like being like totally like, ew, gross, this is just too much for me. This is like, what is wrong with this dude? What's going on? I mean, it's because you can tell something's twisted in there because it's like his face is twisted and his mind's twisted. So I'm just kind of curious what in the hell happened there.
Yeah, hair looks burnt off, which is kind of weird.
Because that's the Joker that I couldn't see a Harley Quinn with.
No. Well, I mean,
unless she's busted looking too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on what they do with Harley Quinn. The look, if they ever introduce that, the look of there. But I don't think you could. I don't know. You could introduce Harley Quinn in this universe. Why couldn't you?
See, I would see her more as like the animated Batman Harley Quinn. I would see her more like on that version versus like the the Suicide Squad version.
Like subservient to him type deal.
Yeah, just kind of like doing that whole Harley Quinn type deal because I could really see where he could like really be messing with her head. And it could have been maybe something happened beforehand. When she hit.
Hey, in Batman the Animated Series, Joker was straight up abusive to Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, he was an asshole.
I couldn't believe that was on the like when I rewatched it with Travis when we were doing the reviewing it. I was like, this was on a cartoon when I was younger. I was like, that is like abusive.
Yeah, he was like a total dick, man. I was like, oh my gosh, this poor little girl.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that's the way the character is, in the books. But I just didn't expect it on a Saturday morning cartoon show for kids.
It's that it's not to the forefront, but it's that sub-level type thing where I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it's just like that underlying where you see that and you're like hopefully a lot of kids don't pick up on that.
Right
or that subconscious type deal, that kind of thing.
There's so much stuff I go back and watch now that I watched when I was a kid, and as an adult I pick up on stuff that I was like, wait a second, I never noticed that as a kid, or I remember them saying that, but I had no idea what the hell it meant.
That's why I can't watch SpongeBob.
Yeah.
There's too much in SpongeBob. I'm like, y'all don't need to be watching this. They're like, why? I'm like, you don't need to be watching this.
All right. Well, you ready to move on? Let's talk about the last thing tonight. We got 2 weeks worth of Picard. I just binged both of them a couple hours ago. Man, this show is really, really pulling me in. Like, as a person who does not know a ton about Star Trek, I know a little bit, so I'm not totally lost. I'm not lost in this show at all. Like, they've done a great job. I didn't even watch season 1, and I'm not lost in this show at all. This feels like I said, I didn't see season 1, but it feels like this first season of a show. Like everything from the beginning, they've explained to you. You haven't missed anything. I feel like I don't need to know anything from the last season. I've got everything going on, and the pace of this show is what I love the most. It's fast paced, but not like rushed, and there's not filler. Like, you get what you need to know. You get this scene, the story moves on. First episode was bam, this is what happens. Second episode is how do we get there? Third episode is we got there. Fourth episode is now we're doing this. Like, I just like it. It's just moving quick, because we're 3 days in their time away from the end of the show, which is 3 episodes too, I think, which is perfect. Last 3 days, 3 episodes. Well, let's go through the 2 weeks then. I've got notes so we can kind of I can hit a little bit of everything, but we don't have to go in any kind of particular order. I'm going to start off with the episode from 2 weeks ago where they're just getting to Earth 2024. I didn't know phasers vaporized. Is that anything? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they can, because you've got basically stun and you basically got killed. So stun, that will just, like I said, stun you. Kill is when it.
Well, see, here's the thing though, is like I know there's also like it shoots like a blaster bolt too, right? I thought that was kill. I didn't know there's vaporize. Why would you always not have it set to vaporize if you if you have the 2 options? I have this one that might hit him and might hurt him, or this one that if it touches him, he's gone. I would always have it set to vaporize.
The situation. It's like if you're going into something that's like super, if you're, because it's like Romulans, like whenever, you always get up at Romulans or Klingons, they're going to shoot to kill. They're not going to stun. They're going to go in for the kill because they're the ones that are always have their phasers on stun or kill, and everybody always poofs.
Right. Well, everybody in Star Trek's a way better shot than they are in Star Wars. I'll tell you that. Way better shots. Okay, so they make the jump, and this is one part that really bothered me, but as I got into the next episode, and it's funny because whenever I start writing in a question, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this because this makes me mad. Like, usually as I'm writing that, the question's answered for me, So my question was when they get to Earth, they crash land into through these trees and everything else, and I'm like, first of all, where in California is that? Second of all, I was like, how does nobody notice that? And the whole show, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, they better explain that. They better explain that. And they're going back to the ship. They're showing the ship. Nothing. And I was like, man, why? Then I get to the next episode and realize they're not in L.A., that they're at the Chateau Picard.
Right? Yeah, they're pretty much, they're in France.
Yeah. As I was writing that, I realized that, and I was like, damn it. I was like, well, there goes that question right there. So,
see, that's the thing. You just got to give it a minute. Just give it a minute, because eventually it will explain itself.
Mm-hmm. And see, because the thing was, I gave it the whole episode, and I was like, well, they didn't explain it by the end of the episode. It's done. And then especially whenever Picard started talking about it, he was like, well, this is where in World War II, the Nazis... And I was like, there were no Nazis in World War II in Los Angeles. I was like, hold on here. What's going on? I don't think there was there? I don't think there was. I could be wrong, but... And that's when I started putting two and two together. I was like, oh, they're not in L.A. Because I remember they were going to go to L.A. and then right at the last second, Picard said, "Oh no, I've got a better idea," or something like that. And
he's like, "I got somewhere, remote."
But they never told you where he went. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they never told you where he went. So, Raffi, is that her name in the show? Really pissing me off in this third episode. Like,
well,
I get
she's okay. All right, okay. Let me just give you a little synopsis of Raffi.
Okay.
You meet her in the first episode or the first season. So she's just in a nutshell, from what I can remember. She gets kicked out of Starfleet. She's pissed off at Picard because apparently they've known each other and apparently they served together. Mm-hmm. So she's pissed off at Picard because she feels like it was his fault that she got kicked out. So throughout the whole season, they're working together and of course everything's cool. So now that's where you've got, I can't even think of his name, the Romulan kid.
Elnor.
Yes. So you meet, all these relationships are developed from season 1.
So she's with him. They're like romantically together.
Mm-mm.
Is that no?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I wasn't sure. It's what I kind of picked up. I was like, I don't know.
No, they're like just like old friends. They've like I said, they've served together. It's kind of like military buddies, that kind of thing. So Elnor was one that Picard had known, kind of saw him grow up, that kind of thing, because he was associated with it was some kind of like Romulan sect that was kind of like a secret force or dark force, secret force thing or whatnot. So that's how everybody got to know each other because of the events from season 1. So when you're coming into this, that's why Raffi's so upset when something happens to Elnor, because they've created or they developed like this bond. So everybody they kind of like they were all like kind of like little like a family by the end of like season 1 coming into season 2.
So maybe
that's the one thing that you missed from season 1 was you see the development of those relationships.
Okay.
Because at the end of season 1, just a little bit of spoiler, they kind of hint at Seven and Raffi having a relationship.
Oh, okay.
So
and there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of that in this episode too, that they kind of touch on a little bit too. So yeah, I can kind of see that. Well, the thing that made me so mad was, okay, so they've gotten to 2024, right? And she's pissed off about them not unplugging the Borg queen so that way they can, I can't remember what they're doing, power up their ship so that way they can survive and land. And she's like, they're trying to convince her, they're like, look, we have to go back and do this. And she's like, well, I'll only go do it if fixing time will save Elnor. And I'm like, really? You won't go do it because not fixing time will kill you? Like, I get that you want to save him. And they're like, well, if we don't do this, then this is all in vain. Of course it is. That's been the objective the whole time. The whole time is if you don't fix this, you all die. Like, nothing changed.
Well, see,
it just made me so mad. I was like, shut up and go do it.
I think that's probably one of the things that you've probably kind of missed from season 1 too, because like I said, that development of that, because Raffi had she had a storyline that she went through. She had to get her she had to get her shit straight.
Okay.
So I mean, it's
She seems a little unstable.
yeah, she is.
I'm not gonna lie.
She's very emotional, but she's like military trained, so it's like she can be like that loose cannon, and she's just very, just was just like Rios was the same way. I mean, he had issues that he had to work through. Rafi had issues they had to work through season one. So
Okay.
that's and like I said, that's another reason why they're all together doing this thing. That's why you have this one, because you're probably thinking like, why this group? Why Seven?
Well,
Why Rafi? Why
I
Rios?
figured they were the
Why
main characters from
Girardi?
last season. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that's because there was a little something going on between Rios and Girardi too at the
Oh,
end of
really?
the first season too. So you're like, which Girardi,
But
she's an interesting character too. I'm sure you've probably kind of picked up on that.
she's one of my favorite on the show. We're going to talk about her here just a little bit because there were some really cool scenes with her in this. Answer me this, and this may be from the last season, or it may just be in general knowledge of Star Trek from something before. Picard was a Borg.
He was at one point he had been captured by the Borg and assimilated into who they called Locutus.
Right. Now, is
This
this like
was
past knowledge of Star Trek, or is this
yeah,
first season?
this was like Next Generation
Okay.
series. This was
Got
I can't remember which season it was because that's why um, Picard's always had a close knit deal with the Borg because of this. Because there's a like once you're kind of tied into the oh god, I wish I'll have to find the episode and send it to you so you can see it. Um, that way it'll kind of give you a little bit more of a background, with
it. Okay.
him and the Borg and that kind of thing. Because that was the one thing I was like, if she calls him Locutus, I'm gonna lose my shit. And she did, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, she did.
okay, all right, shit's getting real. Shit's getting real. So yeah, but I'll find like that season with that episode. It was like one or two episodes in it, and so that way you can kind of give you a little cheat sheet on that
All
one.
right, I'll check it out. Okay, so all three of them, Rios and Rafi and Seven, all get transported to Earth. They're trying to find the Watcher. Rafi and Seven get transported. They land on the ground. Why does Rios's like thing like I guess make him appear like 3 stories in the air where he falls? Like,
It's
why did it not
probably
land
just
him on the ground too?
I don't know, but I'm like that is one hell of a damn fall.
Yeah, I was like, that is super contrived for the story, but okay, gotcha. 'Cause
Well, I mean, I guess
I
it's
guess
like
it's
one of those things
possible.
to know the character of Rios. It's like it figures. That's
Yeah,
just his freaking luck.
yeah.
And plus, it kind of put him in that situation because what was the one thing that Girardi was like saying? Don't screw up the timeline.
Don't go to the hospital.
Don't
Don't
watch
forget.
these butterflies. And
Mhm.
he's like, no, I'm just gonna from the get go. We're just gonna screw it all the hell up.
Did they ever go back and get that communicator? Because I know that Ruffy and Seven went into that place where they found his communicator pinging after he'd been arrested by the ICE, but I never saw them grab it, take
I
it.
think it's still there because it seems
That's
like the
going to be
last
the
time you saw
butterfly,
it, it was kind of like sitting on a table or something because it was
the
like
one
when
they walked
Rios
right by
and
when they
the
walked in. Yeah,
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 because
that one.
Rios and the doctor when they were being taken out by ICE, you saw it sitting there and
Sitting
like
there.
the camera kind of showed it and you're just like because that's when they were trying to communicate with him and you're like okay, so I don't know, that's like one of those things where just kind of keep it filed in the back of your mind there because it's going to come back into play at some point.
Yeah. Let's talk about is it Jatari? Is that her? Girardi?
Girardi,
Girardi as her name. Cool
Agnes.
character. Yeah, cool character in the show. I do like that she went in and fooled the Borg and she stole stuff from her. And I thought it was funny how in the actual show she named the file "Shit I Stole from the Borg." And
Yeah.
then in the preview for the next episode, when that like it's talking about previously on, it shows that exact scene, but it's not what she says. She's
Yeah.
like the secret Borg file or something like that. And I was like, oh, they cut the shit out for the preview, which is weird because it's in the show. Like, why would you cut it out for the preview? But nah, I don't know. But yeah, that was interesting. So from what I'm understanding, it looks like they kind of connected minds, and that's how the Borg assimilate people
Yeah.
into the Borg
The
or
Borg the
into.
way the Borg work is like it's like this huge like hive mind. It's like this huge collective.
Okay.
So to actually disconnect a Borg mind from the entire collective,
Mhm.
that's they don't know anything about being an individual.
Right.
See, this goes along on Seven's story arc because she was assimilated. She came, and that was basically with her on Voyager. It's like her trying to figure out how to become an individual once again.
Right.
So that's when it always goes back, and especially the Borg Queen. You got to remember, she is like the hub of all these other minds. So for a Borg not to have all the other voices, because to them that's their harmony. Right. So when they don't have that and it's just there is silence, that's like the worst thing ever. That's like their hell.
Makes sense. I mean, I guess if you're used to it.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. So we did learn some stuff from the when she actually goes into the mine. That's where they get the win, and actually they don't really get the win. They just kind of assume that it's in 3 days, and they just kind of ran with that storyline and never got any kind of verification of it. But I'm assuming that it's probably going to be correct because of the 15 thing they saw. And then you get your character who is Gaiden. How do you say her name? Gaiden. Okay. Didn't know who it was going in, but obviously this is a character that's famous from Star Trek, right?
Yes, Gaiden was actually. I can't remember if I really knew what her. She was never really one of my favorite characters because I always thought she was always like a confidant of Picard because she ran 10 forward in the on the Enterprise, and this was Whoopi Goldberg's character.
Okay.
So that's why when you saw in like the beginning, when you saw Whoopi Goldberg, that was Guinan.
Okay.
And so now what it is, you've come back, which I wasn't surprised to see that she would be, associated with it. I didn't really think that she would be the Watcher because she's always been like a listener. That's just kind of, but it was interesting to see that, as soon as she came in and it's, because Claire was kind of watching this a little bit. She's like, "Where's her eyebrows?" I'm like, "That's just gone, and she don't have any eyebrows. It's just she has the eyebrows, and that's it."
Made it work though.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it was very interesting to see her as like a younger version, because Guinan by that time, even with Picard, she's like a hell of a lot older than Picard. I mean, I forgot how old it was. I mean, she was like freaking ancient.
Well, he even said in 400 years, we'll
yeah, exactly. So I mean, she's like
it's a long way away.
Yeah, exactly.
So Panther Pickle he said, let me ask one question. Is the Watcher Gaiden? I hope not. Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. It's kind of weird because like Picard thinks that Gaiden is the one that her leaving is what causes the event to happen. That they don't know what the event is yet. We still don't either. But she also says that the Watchers are set out to watch the destiny of particular individuals. Mm-hmm. Now, this show is named Picard. Okay, it's already established he's probably the most famous person in the for me at least in well, I don't know, of recent in this universe, Star Trek. So I'm wondering if Picard is the individual that the Watcher is watching, like his destiny is the one. But it doesn't make sense to me. Like, once again, I'm trying to involve time travel into this, and I start to get really confused. But that's kind of where, not him being the Watcher, but that's who the Watcher is looking after. That's the destiny that it's looking after, is Picard.
Well, the thing that kind of threw me a little bit, too, is the fact of, like, when you meet, which I'm assuming that she's the Watcher. I'm not absolutely sure. I'm sure a lot of it's going to come to light probably next week. Mm-hmm. But it's the same... like I said, I can't remember character names right off the top of my head, but it was the one, the Romulan that I'm gonna have to find her name. But anyway,
that was like his lover, right?
Basically. Well, not necessarily. It's almost kind of like she was not a housekeeper because it was her and her husband that were living with Picard. So she was kind of like that's what I'm saying. She was kind of like the housekeeper.
Okay.
Kind of, sort of.
I felt a romantic bond between them.
Well, I think which I don't know if it was her husband or not, or if it had been, but there was like another Romulan there, and they might have just been friends or whatnot. And I think it's just the fact they had been together because, for the longest time too, there was, you would think from the next generation that they would be going, some. I've got to look. I got to look this up.
I don't think it's Laura, but something L sounds right. Something with an L. I can't remember. I actually recognized her. Yeah,
it's Laris.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laris. So because he was worried about Laris, because even when he came to the other reality, when he asked about her, they're like, oh yeah, well, she died, blah blah. He's like, oh my god, this is like the worst thing ever. But was really interesting. You see her like in an iteration, so you're like, okay, well, it makes you wonder, was going forward, was Laris a watcher? So that's kind of got me thinking that. But then when you see Q at the very end, I'm like, because that's the thing about it with Q. Because if he snaps his fingers and nothing happens, especially when he's like, oh, well, this is interesting. I'm like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Q's tied up in this. I mean,
Right.
I have no doubt in my mind Q is all up in this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because there's always been a cat and mouse game with he and Picard. That's just the way those characters were set up.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting because, like, at the very end, he snaps his fingers, you don't see anything. I'm like, okay. Once again, I don't really know enough about Q to understand what's going on. I just know he's like a character from another. He's a multidimensional character from another realm type thing. Like I said, he reminds me
He's
of
what they call
Mr.
it. He's from what they call the Q continuum. And
Yeah.
they're like these omnipotent beings that can just go in and manipulate
Almost like a
time
watcher. It
and
sounds like, kind of.
realities, and yeah, but
Well,
he's always mischievous.
yeah.
He's
It's
kind
gonna
of
be
like a
well.
Loki.
Like I said, Picard even said in the first episode, he was like, he's not well. Something's not right with him.
Yeah,
You know. So maybe this is starting to manifest now. You start to see what's not right with him, and maybe we'll figure out why soon. Like I said, the pace of the show is awesome. I'm pretty sure by next episode, everything that I want answered will be answered, and we'll have more questions for the next one because I think there's only 7 episodes, or is there 8?
I'm not absolutely sure.
I think there's only 7, and they're she's a Sarah called that. I'm not sure what you called. She called something. um,
What I
I think
call?
there's only 7. It would make sense because we're on episode 4 now. There's 3 episodes left. 3 days until the end of till the change
Yeah,
to timeline B. So I don't know. We'll see.
but it's just interesting because, like I said, if it is Laris or whoever, if she's the watcher, damn, she's feisty.
What if it's just the watcher taking the form of somebody he's familiar with?
I mean, that could be
Possible.
the case. I don't know. I'm
Oh,
just
you
curious to
called Q
see.
snapping.
Yeah, so I'm just curious to see where she teleported him to, because like that opening and they just kind of poofed back. I'm just curious to see where they went.
Well, she wasn't Romulan there in that scene either, was
Mm-mm.
she?
But see, that's what I'm saying. It might have been possibly like some kind of iteration.
Hmm.
Whether she looks human in this time, and then in future she looks Romulan, or I don't know.
So, question. So if I know this is not going to happen, but if they were to not be able to stop this thing in 3 days, what would happen to them? Would they just live their lives out in this timeline and then be reborn again to do the same thing in the future?
Odds are, whatever happens, it's going to work itself out, because they're not going to end up staying in this timeline.
Oh,
Something
I
is
mean,
going to
yeah.
happen. It's either going to be that Watcher's going to take them somewhere, or either Q's going to get his shit together and then put it and something's going to happen to where either A, they actually fix it,
Hmm.
or B, Q gets his head up his ass and then writes it. Because, like I said, if this is not the first time where he's been in a situation where he causes chaos, and like I said, he can't snap himself out of it, and then things kind of work out, and then it happens. And when Panther Pickle's talking about Benjamin Sisko, that would be cool to pull him in.
I'm not familiar with
He's
that.
from DS9. He's
Okay.
Oh, you think Sis? No, I'm telling Pickle. I'm thinking Wesley. I want Wesley to be the Watcher. That would just be the ultimate.
You never know, man. Could be. Dang, there was one more thing with Picard. We were just talking about it a moment ago, and now it's just slipped my mind. I hate when that happens. Um, this show is awesome though. Like, I'm thoroughly involved whenever I'm watching this one. Um, there's no like looking away from the screen. There's no like if I miss something as I'm writing down notes, I'm gonna go back and rewind it like 15 seconds to watch it over again. I'm okay because I want to get this, and it's not hard to get. Like I said, as somebody who comes in at a very base level knowledge of Star Trek, I'm completely understanding what's going on with this
The
show,
only thing that
minus
throws
the time
me
travel
off
stuff.
the only thing that throws me off is like how frail Picard seems. I mean, I know he's old, I get that, but he just seems like just so like worn and frail. And I'm like, this, like sometimes he's more like, the Picard that you're familiar with, but then you have to
Mhm.
realize I'm like, this dude is like super aged. That's probably the only thing that's just kind of difficult for me to like like deal with. I mean, because I've just always thought of Picard as like this larger than life type person. It's like when he gave that speech, and that's the type of Picard I'm thinking of. So when you see him, I've never seen him as weak, and
Yeah.
I don't really know if it's that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just
I,
like that. Like time is kind of caught up with you, and you're finally feeling like the weight of everything. Like your command, and the things you've done in the past, and just life itself. And I'm just like, man, it's like, dude, you sound like I feel sometimes.
I mean, I don't even think it's just Picard. I think it's just part of Patrick Stewart. The
Well,
guy's
I think so too,
he
and that
is.
may be it. And that's just hard for me to,
How
I don't know,
many
come to
people can you
grips
say
with.
though? How many people can you say though play their characters so iconically that you will never recast this character? You would rather bring him back and kill him off. Han Solo here with Harrison Ford,
Hmm.
Picard with and even Patrick Stewart again with Professor Xavier.
Hmm.
Like you're not going to cast another person in that role. It doesn't matter how old this person gets. Like it's crazy. There are very very few actors like that carry. I think it may be like that with Iron Man. I don't think you'll ever see another Iron Man, another Tony Stark. Put it that
No,
way. I don't think you'll
absolutely
ever see another
not.
Tony Stark. You may see another Iron Man, but another Tony Stark. So some characters or actors just get those roles like that. Oh, and I remember what I was going to say because I wrote it down this time. I was asking what happened if they didn't stop the event. It wouldn't
Uh-huh.
be a continuous loop. It wouldn't happen over and over and over again for them because
Mm-mm.
if they didn't, they would be born in the future, but they'd be born in that new future that they were trying to avoid, where Picard is
Uh-huh.
the tyrant, and that would be the new future. So
That's
yes,
kind of like
it
the
would.
like the mirror universe, because that's like the
Yes.
total ass opposite of everything that it's just like if you even any kind of mirror universe in Star Trek,
Mm.
whether it's I think Enterprise had one, Discovery has one, the original series has one. Every iteration has a mirror universe, and it's always the ass opposite. It's like the most horrible. You're just like, oh my god, it's like the total antithesis.
It's always good storytelling.
Oh
So
yeah, I
definitely
mean
makes good.
it gives you a very different. Like I said, it's like just seeing. Going back to the episode when Picard walks into that room and you see all these different skulls, of all the different species, and I'm like that. To me, that shit hit hard because it's like you could recognize, especially when you saw who they were. You're thinking, "Oh wow, this is
Mm.
something totally wow."
Some of those creatures got some pretty badass looking skulls too. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I've always wondered what a Klingon skull looked like.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Klingons look badass. Like I think, I mean, especially in the newer version, with the Kelvin timeline.
Uh huh.
Like I think they look badass. You know,
Well, there's been an evolution of Klingons. Let's put it
yeah.
that way.
Things go like that as technology advances. You know, it's always like that. It's like just like almost any kind of Star Wars, which is why I'm so irritated they go with computer graphics instead of live action stuff like puppets and stuff because they can make it look so good,
Yeah.
practical effects.
Well, even case in point in Discovery, and I think I've made this point before. Even you're going, that far into the future, and you're seeing some of these races and species and whatnot, and you see the evolution they've gone through.
Mm.
It's like you look at I think what was it, even the president, and it's a Cardassian, not a Kardashian. It's a Cardassian. Just to see her, ridges and what, which I don't know if she's I don't know if she's 100% or because I don't think she ever says that she is, but it's like her features are softened. It seemed like when you saw Ferengi, it's like they had different version, like a different shape.
Mm.
I think it was an Andorian, the blue skinned ones. It's just like everything else. You
Yeah,
just got the evolution of a just evolution period, I reckon.
ring around the Death Star. That's right.
Yeah.
It's gonna explode. Things change, baby. But yeah, I'm hooked on the show. I'm loving Picard. I'm glad y'all got me into this. Still wanting to get into um,
Discovery.
Discovery, but
Well, I think Picard is probably one of the reasons you're probably digging it is because it just feels more real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I don't know how to really describe it because even when they are in their present, it still doesn't feel as because I guess you're on Earth. You're not really in like a starship where everything else pretty much takes place in space on the ship, and that's kind of the way Discovery is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend getting to Discovery whenever you get a chance because that's a pretty cool one too.
Hey, I watched the first episode and I loved it. I just haven't had time to get back
Yeah.
and so I'm going to eventually one day. I still got to catch up on Smallville. Yeah.
That'll take a minute.
Smallville, August, yeah. So Panther Pickle in the chat, man, he's got some serious Star Trek knowledge here. He says when Seven and Raffi were in the bus, that punk rocker played the same song. It did.
See, I might have seen that movie once. I haven't seen like the original movies that much, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. That was the Voyage Home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said it was Voyage Home. Yeah, and then he says Kurt Thatcher, who played the punk rock kid neck pinched by Spock in Star Trek 4. The Voyage Home.
Same guy. Okay, that's cool.
Oh. Man, he's got some deep knowledge about this. That's crazy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And there's a lot of that's what's so cool about this stuff. I mean, even. I think that was in Discovery. I think there was one thing that this is like a little tidbit, just a little thing is. I know you haven't seen it, but it's just like one of the ships in there. They call it the USS Yelchin, and I was like, oh my God, that got you right here because Anton Yelchin was the actor that played Chekhov in the Kelvin timeline, and he was the one that passed away tragically.
Yeah.
So and that's the cool thing about Star Trek. They'll throw those little Easter eggs in there. Sometimes you catch them, sometimes you don't, but they're there.
That is pretty cool. I hate that about him too, man. He did such a good job, and not just because he did such a good job in the role. I hate that for him in general, but
he was just such a young. I mean, he was such a fantastic actor too, and he was so young. Oh my gosh, it was heartbreaking.
Hate him.
And that's another one that'll probably be hard to recast.
I agree.
When they have another movie, I just don't see it happen. Just get another character. Just let that one, put him to rest.
Panther Pickle says,
Pickle. I got you right here, buddy. Yeah, I got you.
I'm getting there. I'm trying to earn my little badge. What color would my uniform be right now?
Oh,
red?
you would
no command's red, right?
You would totally be an ensign.
I'd be blue. No,
blue is science.
Blue is science.
Red is command, and yellow is like engineering.
Okay, so I'd be like
just don't be a red shirt.
I'd be like the dude off of Lower Decks. Okay, that works. I can deal with that.
So we would pretty much I think you're probably like ensign. That's like the lowest, like that's like your starter, that kind of thing.
I'm not gonna lie, Star Trek would be an easy cosplay too.
Oh,
easy cosplay.
That reminds me, I have to send you. I don't know if I ever sent you that photo because it was probably about 3 or 4 years. It might have been 4 or 5 years ago. I went to a Halloween party as Bajoran in a Star Trek costume.
Don't know who that is, but
Bajoran is that's just it's just they have like the little nose ridges with the Okay. That was an easy one to do. So, I'll send that one to you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Sarah, I think that's all we had on the docket for tonight. All right, we caught up on Picard. We talked about Halo and our con adventure. So, good Friday evening.
Fun. But like I said, it was last weekend. It was really cool to especially see your lovely other half. Always good seeing Ashley.
It's cool.
And then, like I said, you got to meet my crowd. You got to meet the infamous Brian. So,
telling you, man, when Halo comes on, when you get him on here.
And I'm telling you too, it's like when and Ross, I don't know if he's you're still there. When was it in May? When Doctor Strange, when that one comes out, we need to meet up at Apex. We need to hit up the 4DX theater because I'm telling you, that is a hell of an experience.
Oh, I'm definitely down. Like I'm saying, let's plan it, and then like I'll bring my microphone. We'll podcast right after it. immediate response right after it. I'm totally down. What's funny is I actually got on Twitter today and I saw somebody talking about they had their tickets to go see Doctor Strange tonight, and I was like, wait, they got their tickets to see Doctor Strange tonight? I was like, I didn't know it came out right now. There's no way that's right. And I went and looked it up, and apparently somebody got tickets to an early screening. So I've been looking up all day trying to figure out tickets for an early screening. I was like, that's a really early screening.
Yeah, because it is supposed to come out like May 4th or May 7th or something along those lines. I mean, I know it's early May.
Screening. Yeah. So it may have been true, it may not have been, but I was freaking out. I was like, oh crap, can I go see it tonight? Because I will. But
no, because you have to stay here.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. If it came out tonight, I would probably go see it tonight and then go see it in the 4DX theater because it would be amazing. But it's not, and I can't. And maybe it is, but I can't. I don't have those kind of credentials. So
one day we'll see it. Don't worry.
We definitely will, and we'll talk about it. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here for now. What do we got next week? We got Picard, we got Halo, and I'm sure there's going to be more stuff that drops and comes out. Oh yeah, Morbius comes out next week, doesn't it?
Yeah, Morbius comes out. Like I said, we're going to go see it that Friday, which, whoop whoop, that's my 16th anniversary.
There you go.
Yes, I told Ryan. I said we're going to take the kids. He said, "What are you going to do for your anniversary?" I said, "We can take the kids and go see Morbius."
There you go.
Which we're going to go out the next night too, so it's fine. I'm like, we'll just push that off. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I got next Saturday and Sunday off, so I'll probably go see it next Saturday. So we probably won't talk about it next week, but we probably will the following week. So as soon as we get some stuff out there, or who knows, maybe we'll have a special show just one night to talk about just Doctor Strange.
I mean, I'm actually kind of excited to see it now. I mean, it might not be that fantastic. I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking forward to seeing, an MCU movie. I mean, I don't know. I enjoy the trailer. I mean, I'm like, hopefully they haven't shown everything. So,
look, I'm trying my best not to be upset because I shouldn't be that I can't drink and go see this movie because I don't drink anymore. But I shouldn't be upset about that because the movie's going to be good anyway. But it just seems like if you're gonna have a little buzz going into a movie, this is the one you want it to be. So I'll get over it. I'm sure I'm still gonna enjoy the movie. I'm a little upset about it right now, so I'm thinking about it. I actually thought about that when I was my golf game. I'm like, I wonder how my golf game's gonna be now that I'm not drinking anymore. So we'll see. Probably not any much better. But
that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. It will be. It definitely will be. So
because my golf game is definitely a little bit looser after I've had a couple. So
well, I've noticed when I go play golf, I'll the first 2 or 3 holes, I'll usually do pretty well. I do pretty decent. Then the alcohol starts to kick in. And then until like the final 2 holes, I'm usually playing pretty bad. So I think
like chasing around on the green.
Yeah. So I think it'll help, but we'll see. I'm not sure. So, all right. Well, let's roll. Where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at MyLadyKitten. And of course, here, Friday nights. Hanging with my boys, which yes, Ross, we're missing you tonight, but hey, things happen. It's all good.
Baby.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, we had to give him a night off one night sometime. I mean, you gotta have a night off sometime.
Yeah, I mean, he's not getting paid for tonight, but yeah, he can definitely have the night off.
Yeah, well, you have like a little vacay. It's fine. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Hit me up. You got questions? Just shoot out there, and maybe y'all know what I'm talking about.
Check her out on Star Wars Alliance podcast. You were recently on that as well, correct?
Yes, that's coming up. That's coming up. I'm not quite sure when that's going to drop, but Katie and I were talking Rebels. Greg,
you told me about it, and I was like, oh, that'd be a cool show to come on. And I didn't really, think about asking about it. And then Katie had messaged me, I guess, before the show had started, and asked if I want to come on, but I didn't. I was sick, and I just really. I hadn't checked my phone. I saw it the next day. I was like, oh, I'm sorry I missed that because it would have been fun, but I don't know, to be honest with you, if I'd have been up to it, just how I was feeling. So, but yeah, check it out. It's fun stuff. And then you'll be doing some slice of film.
Yeah. I think that's going to start up, the end of April. Okay. So I'm kind of co-hosting or, kind of still trying to figure out how that's going to work, which it's going to be fun because I always enjoy, talking to Katie with films and whatnot. Matter of fact, one I know we're probably going to talk about, I know she and I both are going to go see The Lost City this weekend. I'm going with a girlfriend of mine tomorrow, and then I think she's going with her husband. So we'll probably end up getting together at some point and talking about that. So that should be fun. Fun times. So Well, yeah, check it out because I mean, obviously, hey, maybe one day you and I can do one.
There you go.
Maybe it could be a Star Trek film.
No. down. I mean, I've already watched one for you, Wrath
Yeah.
of Khan, the old version.
Made sense too, didn't it? Made sense.
It did. It did. And it
Okay.
made watching the second one better because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. I see what they did there. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. It was fun.
That's what I'm saying. That's little Easter eggs.
I'm down. Expect me on there at some point in time. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But definitely check all her stuff out. Hit her up on Twitter if you want to talk to her. I am at the BatDaddy52 on Twitter. My DMs are not working right now, so I have to get on my computer to check them, and I don't honestly get on my computer that much unless I'm podcasting or creating something for a podcast. But hit me up on there. I'll try to, get back at you. At SCS Podcast 1 on Twitter is the show handle. I don't check that as often as I should, but we really don't have a ton of people that message that. They usually come straight to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you can check stuff out there. We're here live every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or most Fridays. Sometimes we do shows on different days, but we'll let you know in advance. Other than that, it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. Audio drops on Monday mornings, and you can find it on any podcaster of your choice. So give us a like, give us a review, give us a share, tell a friend. Come on the show. Come check it out in the chat room. We'll try to highlight your stuff in the chat room and discuss some of the stuff you have, make you a part of the show. And if you ever are a fellow podcaster and you want to come on and talk about something, hit me up. I'm always down for more people. So, but that being said, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to go watch Carolina beat the crap out of UCLA right now and make it to the Elite Eight. It's going to be a fun time. So until next week, y'all keep pounding.
All right. Bye, guys.